Again, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to USVA SOL review by Standard. Like I said last time, I'm not really sure why my pretty little face is not showing up. Having some technical difficulties, but as long as you can still hear me, that's all that matters. And as long as you can still see the PowerPoint, that's all that matters. So, again, thanks for coming back. We're going to get right into standard number 6 today. We're only going to do 4 out of the 5 benchmarks for each standard. Which is going to discuss the first political parties in early expansion, from what the 13 original colonies were to eventually what the United States looks like. So here are the standards here. So here's A. This is B. Here's more of B. Here is C. And lastly, here is D. Alright, so we're going to look at first political parties. So George Washington leaves office in 1800, and he says, hey, don't do a couple of things. Don't get into political parties. Don't get into foreign entanglements. And we do both right away. We don't listen, just like many of you teenagers don't listen to your teachers. I digress. Let's get right into it, though. So controversy over the Federalists. Again, same Federalists that supported the Constitution as is, with a strong central government, support the Bank of the United States. The Jay Treaty and the undeclared war on France contributed to the emergence of an unorganized opposition party, the Democratic Republicans, led by Thomas Jefferson and James Madison. So you have the splitting of ideas, and this forms two different political parties. Presidential election of 1800 is won by Thomas Jefferson. Was the first American presidential election in which power was peacefully transferred from one political party to another. Federalists led by John Adams and Alexander Hamilton typically believed in a strong national government and commercial economy, essentially trading, strong central government, all that kind of stuff. They were supported by bankers and businesses in the Northeast. Democratic Republicans believed in a weak national government, one that laid hands off, and an agricultural or farming economy. They were supported by farmers, artisans, and frontiersmen in the South. So the United States is going to expand from its original 13 colonies. So the War of 1812 is going to gain us some territory way out west, but also the purchase of the Louisiana Territory in 1803 is going to double the size of the United States. Thomas Jefferson is going to authorize Lewis and Clark an expedition out west of the Mississippi River. Hey, go look at what this land looks like. We get it for a bargain, and we might as well look what it is. Sacagawea, an American Indian woman, also serves as their guide and translator. American victory over the British in the War of 1812 produced an American claim to the Oregon Territory that's way out west and increased the migration of American settlers into Florida, which was later acquired by treaty from Spain. So after all of this, and after some independence movements in South and Central America, James Monroe, the 5th president, says, hey, Europe, why don't you stay out of our stuff? The American continent should not be considered for future colonization by any European powers. Nations in the Western Hemisphere, so again the Americas, were inherently different from that of Europe. They are republics rather than monarchies, so stay out or else. The United States would regard as a threat to her own peace and safety on any attempt by European colonization in any more of those Central or Southern American states. The United States would not interfere in European affairs either. So, some more early international affairs to tie up. British interference with American shipping and Western expansion fuels the call for a declaration of war. This is the War of 1812. Federalists opposed Madison's war resolution, talked of secession, and proposed constitutional amendments which were not acted upon. So, there's lots of different people who are like, no, this is not what we should be doing right now. We should not be getting in a fight with Britain. We're not at a strong enough stage James Madison doesn't listen, and that's why it's called Madison's Little War anyway. All right, so after James Madison, James Monroe leave office, you have the emergence of a new sort of wave of American democracy, and that's attributed to our seventh president, Andrew Jackson. So Jacksonian democracy is, again, the changing of the old ways to the new, and the old ways being landowners only being able to vote, essentially middle, upper class, and upper class white American men being able to vote. And Jackson comes in, and that's not the case. He gets some things done, and it becomes the age of the common man. It's characterized by a lot of different things. A heightened emphasis on equality in the political process for adult white males. You don't have to own land, doesn't matter how much money you have. Any white male can vote. The rise of interest group politics and sectional issues. We're definitely going to see interest groups pop up here, many of which are going to be hired by Andrew Jackson for supporting him in his campaign. We're going to talk about sectional issues, but not until the next video review, so stay tuned for that. A changing style of campaigning gets a lot dirtier. You see, the vice president being chosen by the president now, or the presidential candidate anyway. So you see a lot of difference in that. Increase in voter participation. People really feel that need to vote for their next president. They don't always agree with the strongest or most popular candidate. Andrew Jackson personifies that democratic spirit by challenging the economic elite and rewarding campaign supporters with public office. It's called the spoils system. Again, hiring essentially his friends and those who support him with houses in the White House. The Federalist Party disappears, and new political parties, the Whigs and Know-Nothings, were organized in opposition to the Democratic Party. So the Democratic Republicans become the Democrats, and the Whigs and the Know-Nothings come out of that. Okay, kind of a short standard here. We're going to get right into the next part of the standard with the next video. So stay tuned for that. Again, good luck to you, and I hope you enjoyed the first half of standard number 6.